Have you been looking for the next interesting race that you're going to play in Starfinder? Then look no further than the Dessamar. They're butterfly people. Hello everyone, welcome to the Maple Table. My name's Nathaniel. This is a channel where we discuss role-playing games, so if that's something you're interested in, I would love to have you join me at the table. Today we're going to talk about an interesting race that you can play for any of your various classes. I thought that they were pretty interesting, and I found them in the Alien Archives number 3, page 14 specifically. This is a race called the Dessamar. They are essentially butterfly people. Part of what I find interesting about this race is that they have two forms of being, and you can pick whichever one you want them to be. So, let's get the important stuff out of the way first. Hit points. They have 3 of them, so they're a little bit on the squishier side. Instars are also considered small. They will also get a racial trait called Dessamar Magic. Essentially what this means is they can cast telepathic message or detect magic anytime they want. And of course, they can cast Charm Person once per day. Dessamar will also start off with Blind Sense. This will have a range of 30 feet. Essentially, they can smell you from 30 feet away. Make sure you've had a bath. And they get low light vision as well. Now here's the cool part. As a racial trait, they can use the ability that they call Twinkle. What is Twinkle, you ask? Once per day, a Dessamar can teleport up to 40 feet. Now, unfortunately, it does specify that a Dessamar cannot bring someone with them when they use this teleport ability. And if for whatever reason, when the Dessamar comes back into the physical plane, if something occupies or would occupy their space, the spell just fails. But if it fails, you can still try to use it again. And for your rule keepers out there, this is going to function as the Dimension Door spell. As I mentioned in the start of the video, Dessamars have 2 states of being. One is in a larva format, and they call this Instar. Another version of the Dessamar would be the fully matured version, and this is the one with the big butterfly wings. And the fully matured version of the Dessamar is called the Imagos. If you're going to play a larva version of the Dessamar, you're going to be playing the Instar. Instars will get a +2 to their constitution, +2 to their wisdom, but they'll also get -2 to their dexterity. Now the Instar larva, they have a particularly interesting self-defense mechanism. This is called Dream Dust. Basically, if you were to punch a Dessamar larva, you would get coated in this hallucinogenic powder and, well, it'll be not fun for you. Instars will have a land speed of 30 feet, and they will also have a climb speed of the same 30 feet. Dessamars as a larva, or at the Instar phase of their life, they don't actually have that good of vision. So you're going to take a -2 to any sight perception checks. And anything that's further than 60 feet away from you is going to be treated as if it has concealment. This is the midpoint in the video, so if you're enjoying it today, please hit that like button and that subscribe button for more content like this from myself. Now when an Instar matures and goes through its final metamorphosis, it will come out of its cocoon as a Imagos. An Imagos will have a +2 to their wisdom, +2 to their charisma, and a -2 to strength, because butterflies don't lift, bro. Imagos are also considered medium size, so you get a bit of a size upgrade from your Instar days. The Imagos will have a land speed of 20 feet. They will also have an extraordinary fly speed of 20 feet, with some average maneuverability. When a Dessamar Imagos rests for 8 hours, what they can do is they can select one skill and gain an extra bonus in that skill. Now, when they do this to apply to another skill, you lose the bonus that you applied to the skill before it. So it's not, you don't get to have a permanent skill up loop. Now, your downside to being an Imagos is you're going to have fragile limbs. You're going to take a -2 penalty to any saves against severe wounds or critical wounds, at least when it comes to specifically hitting your arms, legs, or wings. Also, with your weak, spindly little arms, if you try to pick up an item that is more than a light bulk, you actually will have to hold it with 2 of your hands. If you have an item that is bulk 2, so if it has a little bit of weight to it, you'll have to hold it with 3 hands. And then, of course, we can extrapolate if your item weighs 3 pounds or 3 bulk, you're going to have to hold it with all 4 hands. So where exactly does a Dessamar call home? The Dessamar live on a planet called Kaushoria. This particular planet is bathed in a purple light, almost like an aurora effect, but it covers the entire planet. This aurora effect that covers the planet, it actually has some magical properties to it. The entirety of the Dessamar society is actually structured around magic and science together. Much of the jobs that the Dessamar will take will actually be in science, and they are aggressively studying the aurora that covers their planet, trying to find out what that magic can do. In fact, much of the Dessamar technology is actually bioengineered, magical, or a combination of both. Part of the reason that the Dessamar are investigating the magical auras around their planet is they believe that it has a connection to the Dark Tapestry. Not much is known about the Dark Tapestry, but what is theorized is the Dark Tapestry is that space between stars. It's that darkness that exists between the light. And it's kind of an interesting concept as I've been looking at it and looking through some wikis, trying to find what I can about it. There isn't much. Even going through some of the Pathfinder wikis, there's a little bit there, but there's not much on Starfinder. The Dark Tapestry, for myself, when I'm interpreting this, it's very Lovecraftian. Your old gods will live there, the ones that have been dormant for so long. And it would actually make for a really interesting story if the history of the gap that's missing was actually a galactic war that happened against the old gods. They won, put them to sleep, and the remaining pantheon just decided that, no, we don't want you to remember that, and just pluck that memory out of your head, and it's wake up and it's gone. That's a really interesting, that's a cool story arc. I may use that in the future. Feel free to use that yourself. One last thing to note about the Dessamar is that their planet is actually in Azlanti space. The Azlanti claim their planet as being part of the Azlanti Empire, and that the Dessamar are subjects to it, but the Dessamar don't actually see it this way. Actually, most of the Dessamar avoid the Azlanti entirely. The Azlanti allow the Dessamar the same rights and citizenships as any of the other nations or races in their empire, so a Dessamar is free to move about the Azlanti Empire as they wish. The Azlanti, though, view the Dessamar as more of a curiosity. The Azlanti find their technology quaint and kind of cute almost. It's quite patronizing. Since the Dessamar and the Azlanti have no competing interests, well, that means they don't fight and they can be friends. I think the Dessamar race is more suited to any of the caster classes, more specifically the Mystic, than anything else, because you get the wisdom bonuses. I suppose if you really wanted, you could go into the Technomancer or even the Witch Warper. I guess my order of spellcasters for this particular race would be Mystic first, Witch Warper second, Technomancer third. Their history is it's just so cool. There's so much there as a storyteller that you can just grab onto and run with. Please keep in mind, I haven't read any of the adventure paths, so if there is some stories in there that I'm already thinking of, I've come by it honestly. I swear I haven't read them. Up on the screen now, you should see another playlist of Starfinder races that I have covered, so feel free to check them out. YouTube will have also made a selection for you on the screen. My name's Nathaniel. You've been watching The Maple Table. Your subscription means so much to me. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.